The CEO burst out laughing as the old janitor's rusty car sputtered into the lot, its engine backfiring like a joke. "You actually drive that thing?" he sneered, the interns chuckling behind him. But what he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that deep inside that dented hood lay a hidden engine worth more than his entire luxury fleet, and a story that would shatter everything he thought he knew about worth, legacy, and the quiet man he just humiliated. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the corporate lot, reflecting off sleek Teslas, matte black Land Rovers, and polished Bentleys lined like trophies outside the Chase Innovations building. Status wasn't spoken here, it was parked in front of you. That's why, when a beat-up 1972 Dodge Dart rolled in, spitting gray smoke and wheezing like an asthmatic, heads turned. Not in admiration, but amusement. Brandon Chase, the CEO himself, stood beside his silver McLaren, sipping his morning macchiato, surrounded by interns clinging to every word he said. As the jalopy coughed into its parking space, Brandon chuckled, then smirked wide, lips curling with a kind of practiced cruelty. "You hear that," he said, voice dripping with sarcasm. "That's not an engine, that's a eulogy." The crowd burst into awkward laughter, unsure whether to enjoy the joke or feel uneasy. But Eli Turner, the janitor stepping out of the rusted car in oil-stained overalls and worn boots, didn't even flinch. He gave Brandon a small nod, calm and unshaken, and adjusted the cap over his silvering hair. Brandon shook his head, loud enough for everyone to hear. "It's 2025, man. You're driving a dinosaur. Put that thing out of its misery already." Eli only smiled. She's still got a lot of miles left, more than most people give her credit for. That made Brandon scoff louder, like Eli had no right to be proud. "Sure, and I guess next you'll tell me she's a collector's item." Eli gently patted the hood. "Let's just say she's got a few secrets under the hood." The CEO rolled his eyes and turned away, already forgetting the moment. But what Brandon didn't know, what none of them did, was that this so-called scrap heap held something millions would one day beg to see. Because just beneath the rust, buried beneath decades of dust and dignity, was a piece of history, a touch of genius, and a secret that would soon change everything. Not just for Eli, but for the very man who laughed at him. Sometimes, the people we overlook have the greatest stories to tell. Stick with us till the end of this story. It just might change the way you see people and how you define true wealth. If this first spark hit something in your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs their faith in people restored. Brandon Chase didn't become a billionaire by being kind. He built his empire with cold precision, cutthroat deals, sleepless nights, and a belief drilled into him from childhood. Asterisk, nice guys finish last. His office sat at the very top of Chase Innovations, a glass fortress that overlooked the city like a throne. Marble floors, imported Italian espresso machines, a private elevator no one else could use. Power clung to the walls like cologne. Down in the lobby, Eli mopped those same floors every night. Whenever they crossed paths, Brandon barely acknowledged him. To him, Eli was just the janitor, a background character in a world that revolved around quarterly reports and net worth. A smudge on the glass he paid people to wipe clean. One night, long after the office had emptied, Eli knocked gently before entering to clean Brandon's space. Brandon didn't even look up from his tablet. "Just don't touch the sculpture," he muttered. But Eli did touch it, accidentally brushing its edge while dusting. Instantly, Brandon's voice rose like a breaking wave. "I said don't touch that. Do you even know what that's worth?" Eli took a breath, hands steady. "No, sir, but I figured everything has its place, even something that's been gathering dust." That line hung in the air longer than Brandon liked. He huffed and turned away, muttering a sharp, "Just finish up." What Brandon didn't hear was how gently Eli placed the sculpture back, how he treated it not like an object of wealth, but like a piece of something meaningful. Because Eli, despite his job title, knew the value of things, just in a different currency. That night, Eli shared his sandwich with the security guard, rubbed the receptionist's dog behind the ears, and left the lot the same way he came, in that rusty Dodge Dart, its engine purring like an old jazz tune forgotten by time. Brandon, watching from his 70th floor window, scoffed at the sound again. But deep within him, buried under years of icy ambition, something flickered. Confusion, curiosity, resentment, he didn't know. All he saw was a man who smiled even when the world ignored him. And sometimes, that's the kind of man who holds the power to change everything. If this story has stirred something in you, it's just getting started. Stick around and let the contrast between pride and humility unfold. Like, subscribe, and share this moment with someone who believes kindness can rewrite even the coldest chapters. The next morning, Eli pulled into the parking lot again. Same old rumble, same old backfire, same old smirk from Brandon, who was sipping his artisan coffee like it was liquid gold. But this time, someone else noticed the car before the mocking began. Lena, a young intern with a background in automotive engineering, something she thought she had to hide in the sleek halls of a tech company, paused mid-step. Her eyes lit up. "Is that a 72 Dart?" she mumbled, almost in disbelief. She crouched slightly to get a better look. "That sound is that a HEMI." Eli, loading a tool belt into the trunk, turned his head with a gentle smile. "You've got a good ear." Before Lena could ask more, Brandon cut in with a loud laugh. "Careful, Lena. One more compliment and he'll start charging admission." Lena stood awkwardly. "I just think it's cool," she muttered. Brandon raised an eyebrow. "It's junk, not vintage. He's been hauling that corpse around forever, probably held together with duct tape and prayers." Eli didn't flinch. He just wiped a cloth across the dusty chrome and said softly, "Sometimes the loudest engines are the ones people stopped listening to." That line hit Lena harder than she expected, and maybe Brandon too, though he hid it behind his smug grin. Still, something about the way Eli looked at that car, like it was alive, like it mattered, created a quiet tension in the moment no one seemed able to break. Later that afternoon, Lena Googled 1972 Dodge Darts and couldn't believe what she found. She studied the video clips, the engine specs, the rare builds, the collector variation with the factory-installed 426 HEMI. Only an asterisk handful had ever been produced, fewer still were still driving. Could Eli be one of asterisk those? The thought lingered in her mind. How could someone working as a janitor possess something so rare, so potentially invaluable, and never talk about it? Why was he still here, cleaning floors, while any car collector in the world would chase him down for that piece of metal? But maybe, to Eli, it wasn't just a car. Maybe it was a memory, a promise, a story no one had earned the right to hear. Sometimes what's under the hood isn't just horsepower. It's heartbreak, history, and heritage all rolled into one. And maybe, just maybe, the man laughing the loudest was the one who understood the asterisk least. Stay with us. The truth inside that engine hasn't even begun to roar. The empire Brandon built began to crumble on a rainy Thursday morning. It started with a series of strange emails. Then whispers in the boardroom got louder. Numbers weren't adding up. Patents were in dispute. And then, the breaking blow, his chief technology officer, a man he called a brother, had stolen proprietary data and launched a rival company, with Brandon's investors quietly funding the betrayal. The news went viral before Brandon could spin it. Tech titan toppled by his own team. Chase Innovations faces collapse amid internal scandal. Just like that, his name became a punchline for investors and a warning for startups. The next morning, the board held an emergency vote. Cold faces, tight lips. People who once bowed now barely made eye contact. Unanimous. Brandon Chase was out. He left the building slowly. No cameras, no staged speech. Only the sound of gentle footsteps and a buzz of whispers behind security glass. His McLaren sat outside untouched, but when he slid in, his reflection in the rearview mirror looked hollow, humbled, maybe even haunted. Ironically, as he pulled out of the lot, Eli's Dodge Dart was just pulling in, releasing that signature growl. For the first time, Brandon didn't laugh. He just watched, exhaust clouding the mirror. Time seemed suspended. That night, Brandon didn't go to his penthouse. No paparazzi, no private chef. He ended up in a 24-hour diner wearing the same designer suit that now felt like someone else's armor. No one noticed him there. Stripped of title, stripped of praise, he was just a man nursing burnt coffee and bruised pride. Then the door opened. In walked Eli, smelling of pine and oil, nodding kindly at the waitress who handed him his usual. He spotted Brandon, hesitated, then walked over. "No empire lasts forever," Eli said gently, taking a seat without asking. Brandon looked away. "Don't pretend to understand." "I understand more than you think," Eli replied. "Sometimes losing the world is the only way to find your place in it." They sat in silence, the kind that doesn't demand anything, where comfort hides inside quiet. For the first time, Brandon didn't see a janitor. He saw a man who'd been through storms and walked out stronger. And somewhere, deep down in a place he'd long buried, Brandon felt something unfamiliar. Respect. The ride down was starting to teach him what rising had not. Don't go anywhere. This isn't the end, it's the beginning of something far more powerful than power itself. The next day, for reasons Brandon couldn't explain even to himself, he showed up at the Chase Innovations parking lot again. With no position, no stake, nothing left to prove, just emptiness. He parked at the far end this time. No valet, no McLaren, just an old borrowed pickup and silence. Eli was already there, hunched over with grease-stained gloves, a gentle jazz melody humming from a tiny speaker beside him as he tightened a bolt under the Dodge's hood. Sunlight glinted off the aged chrome, trying its best to shine through the dust and decades. The scent of motor oil and fading leather filled the air. It was nostalgic, honest. For a few seconds, Brandon just stood there, watching. "You come to mock it again?" Eli asked without looking up, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Brandon's voice cracked. "No, I think I came to understand it." That made Eli pause. Brandon walked closer, hands in his pockets, his once pristine loafers crunching over gravel like the sound of pride shattering underfoot. "What is it about this car?" he asked. "Why do you keep it? Why not sell it, live better?" Eli finally looked at him, his eyes tired but kind. "You think I kept it for money?" "No," Brandon said slowly, "but maybe you should have." Eli stepped aside, motioning toward the open hood. "Come look." Brandon leaned in, and there it was, gleaming beneath 50 years of grit, a *426 Hemi **, perfectly preserved. Rare, legendary, practically priceless. Brandon's jaw dropped. "Is that?" "One of 7 ever produced in this configuration," Eli confirmed. "Custom built by my father by hand, every piece, tuned to perfection." Brandon touched the metal softly, like it might disappear. "You've been driving a *Fortune* around." "It's more than that," Eli whispered. "This engine was my father's love letter to a world that forgot him. He built it during nights he should have been sleeping, while working 3 jobs after losing my mother. This car, it runs on more than gasoline. It runs on memory, on grief, on everything we never forget but never say." Brandon stood still, heart pounding, hands trembling. All his wealth, all his pride. Yet suddenly, he felt so small next to a man who never bragged, but built something that lasted. And for the first time in years, Brandon felt something real. The engine wasn't the only thing alive in that lot. Keep listening. The real journey hasn't even started yet. They sat on the curb as the sky shifted into gold, with the Dodge Dart behind them, its open hood casting a long shadow over the pavement. Brandon wasn't used to silence. His world had always been noise, stock updates, investor calls, fast deals, faster cars. But with Eli beside him, saying nothing, just watching the wind move the trees, it felt like the first peaceful moment he'd had in years. After a while, Eli spoke, his voice low, like he was speaking more to the wind than to Brandon. "My dad used to say, real engines don't need to scream. They hum, because real power doesn't need to impress anyone." Brandon glanced at him. "He sounds like he was a good man." "The best," Eli replied, eyes distant now, swimming in memories. He had magic in those hands. Never had a college degree, never wore a suit, but he could bring metal to life. He built this car for a racer who never got to drive it. And after my father passed, I couldn't let it go. Not because it's worth something, but because he was. And this is all I have left of him that still moves. There was a pause, heavy and human. Brandon blinked hard. "Why work here then? Why clean?" Eli looked at him, no shame in his gaze. "Because dignity isn't in the job, Brandon. It's in how you do it. I clean because someone has to, and I do it with pride. Same as my dad tuning an engine until it sang." Brandon exhaled, shaky. "I spent my life building things, but none of it feels real anymore. None of it would have lasted." Eli put a hand on the car, then on his heart. "The things that last aren't made for applause. They're built with love, not ego, forged in hardship, not headlines." In that moment, Brandon saw what real legacy looked like. Not in stock tickers or skyscrapers, but in an old man quietly honoring the memory of another, preserving truth in steel and oil and patience. Maybe his fall wasn't a punishment, maybe it was a path, one he never would have taken without crashing first. Sometimes it takes losing everything to finally meet yourself. Stay with us, because what these two build next will show you how powerful humble beginnings can truly be. Brandon started showing up every morning, not in a tailored suit, not in designer shoes, but in jeans, an old hoodie, and shoes that actually scuffed when he walked. No one really noticed him anymore. No one swarmed for selfies or quotes or job offers. And for the first time, that felt like a gift. He'd find Eli at dawn, already wiping oil from his hands or tinkering with the old Dart, jazz music drifting from the cracked speaker like a memory never quite forgotten. At first, Brandon just watched, sat in silence, listened. But one morning, without words, Eli handed him a wrench. "Figure it's about time you got your hands dirty." Brandon took it, uncertain but grateful. The first time he tried to loosen a rusted bolt, he barked a frustrated sigh. "It stuck." Eli chuckled. "So are most people who have never struggled." Brandon looked at him, breathing more honesty than he ever had before. "I don't know what I'm doing." "That's how we all start," Eli said. "The trick's just to keep showing up." So Brandon did. He sanded, he scraped, he spilled grease on his shirt. He got blisters, cuts, and the kind of sore muscles that reminded him he was alive. And little by little, the car wasn't the only thing being rebuilt. Staff whispered about it. The former CEO, once untouchable, now working with the janitor? But Eli ignored the chatter, and Brandon stopped hearing it. Because every bolt turned was a piece of his pride loosened. Every oil stain was a layer of ego stripped away. One afternoon, they fixed the carburetor together. It purred like a cat after a long nap. Brandon beamed like a child. Eli clapped his shoulder. Not bad for a guy who used to think this car was junk. Brandon grinned. Not bad for a guy who used to think money made him smart. They laughed, really laughed. The kind of laughter that has no audience and needs no stage, only truth. That night, as Brandon walked away with grime under his nails and purpose in his chest, he looked back at Eli, sitting in that same spot on the curb. For the first time, Brandon felt like a man worth becoming. Not a CEO, not a name, just someone honest. And somewhere inside him, an old engine started to hum. Stick around. What they're building now has nothing to do with horsepower and everything to do with healing. It was Eli's idea, but Brandon said it aloud first. You ever think about fixing up cars for real? Like people bring in the forgotten ones and we bring them back to life. Eli paused, polishing the side mirror with the care of someone dusting off a memory. You mean like a shop? Brandon nodded, eyes brighter than they'd been in months. A legacy, yours, mine maybe, a place that builds more than engines, restores more than chrome. Eli didn't answer right away. He looked at the dart, then at Brandon, this man who'd once scoffed at him in front of dozens. But now there was no ego in his voice, no superiority in his tone, just hope. I wouldn't mind passing along what my daddy taught me, if someone's willing to learn the asterisk right way asterisk, Eli said. That's how it started. In the same garage where they rebuilt the dart, they began sketching ideas on napkins and scrap wood. Brandon used what connections he had left, not for power, but for purpose. One of his former interns designed a logo pro bono, Turner and Chase Restorations, where legends are reborn. The name came last. Eli didn't want his on the sign at first. I'm not the face of anything, he said. You're the asterisk soul of it, Brandon insisted, and people need to see who taught me what real craftsmanship looks like. Their first project, of course, was Eli's Dodge Dart. Brandon paid to restore it, asterisk fully asterisk, but under one unshakable condition: every meaningful scratch, chip, and handmade bolt stayed. No dealership polish. No scent forced to erase the past. Because the beauty wasn't just in how the car roared again. It was in how it had asterisk survived. Lena, the intern who first noticed the car, filmed the whole process. Her video went viral, millions of views in days. Not because of the car's value, but because of its story. Two men, one who had fallen, one who had been overlooked, meeting in the middle of humility and horsepower. Offers poured in. Vintage collectors, military vets, single moms holding onto their late father's truck. They all wanted not just restoration, but remembrance. And so the shop grew, but the mission stayed simple. They weren't fixing cars. They were telling stories with tools. Don't stop now. You're about to witness what happens when broken things find their purpose and broken people find each other. 1 year later, the parking lot outside Chase Innovations looked almost the same: sleek black cars, polished chrome, leather shoes clicking over marble. But something was different now. A quiet buzz rippled through the interns as a familiar sound rolled across the lot. A low, thunderous hum that didn't belong in a world of silent electric vehicles. It was Eli's Dodge Dart, now fully restored. The paint, a deep obsidian, caught the sunlight like it had just come off the line, but the soul of it was still there. You could see it in the worn steering wheel, the handmade knobs, the lettering on the dashboard scratched faintly by Eli's father's hands decades ago. Nothing was overdone. It simply breathed again. Brandon stepped out of the driver's seat, dressed not in a suit, but in work boots, oil-stained jeans, and a flannel shirt rolled to his elbows. He looked nothing like the man who once ruled from a glass tower, but he looked asterisk whole. He leaned on the car and waited as a few new executives stepped out of the building, eyeing the vehicle with confused stares. One of them smirked. "What's that old junk doing in our lot?" Brandon's expression didn't falter. He just smiled quietly and replied, That junk built me back better than any of you ever could." At that moment, Eli walked up from around the corner, toolbox in hand, wiping his brow. A few people looked from one man to the other, unsure who was in charge, clinging to old hierarchies. Brandon didn't care. He clapped Eli on the back. "You ready?" he asked. Eli nodded, eyes as calm as ever. Together, they were heading to speak at a nearby trade school, telling their story to kids whose dreams smelled like motor oil and sounded like roaring engines. Kids who thought no one would ever notice their gifts. Now, they had proof that humble beginnings could echo louder than money ever could. As they pulled away, leaving a cloud of dust and awe behind them, you could hear the engine roar, powerful, alive. A tribute to every forgotten soul who ever built something with love and never asked for applause. And for the first time, the people in that lot didn't laugh. They watched, they listened. Because some things don't shine to be noticed. They shine because they're real. Stay close. The lesson that ties it all together is just ahead, and it's the kind you'll want to carry with you forever. In a quiet garage on the edge of town, the sounds of power tools gave way to laughter, music, and stories passed between generations. The metal walls weren't fancy. The floors were still stained, but what happened inside those walls was nothing short of sacred. Brandon and Eli had built more than a restoration shop. They'd built a sanctuary. A place where broken-down machines and broken-down people came to be seen, heard, and mended with care. They worked alongside war veterans rebuilding motorcycles that hadn't run since deployment. Single moms finding pieces of their fathers here, buried in dusty glove compartments. Teenagers who had no direction, now learning torque and timing instead of trouble. The shop didn't just restore engines, it gave people a reason to believe in their own worth. One young man, barely 18, held his sobbing father after starting his restored 65 pickup for the first time. Another, silent for most of his life, spoke his first full sentence while working beside Eli, just asking for a wrench. There were stories pouring from every tool belt, from every spark, from every restored bolt whispered back into place. Brandon never sat behind a desk again. He didn't need the corner office. He had everything he needed in the dirt under his nails, the warmth of the community, and the peace that only comes from a life lived honestly. Eli, now more than just a janitor, more than just a mechanic, had become the soul of something truly lasting. His father's legacy now lived in more engines than he could count, and in more hearts than he ever imagined. One day, amidst the hum of machinery and murmured gratitude, Brandon looked at Eli and said, "You know, I used to think the world only respected noise. Applause, headlines, but they remember asterisk you. Not because you were loud, but because you were asterisk real." Eli smiled, wiping oil from his hands. Turns out a quiet engine can still shake the world if it's got the right story inside. So if you've ever felt overlooked, underestimated, forgotten, remember this. True value isn't always shiny. Real greatness often arrives wrapped in rust, humility, and history. And sometimes, the person you dismiss the quickest is exactly the one who'll teach you what it means to truly live. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that purpose, resilience, and love can be found, even under the hood.